Welcome to NCR530 Online Dispute Resolution. It is July 20th, 2012. I'm recording this lecture in Port Angeles, Washington. Many students have asked me on the discussion board and through emails how to become a paid ODR practitioner. The route that I followed included beta testing new applications and networking with people in the online dispute resolution community. During this lecture, I will describe how I became involved with ODR and some of the different activities I've participated in over the years. My interest in online dispute resolution began in 1993 when I participated in a project between CSUDH and SETI's University, which we used two-way interactive video conferencing technology to do negotiation simulations between students in Mexico and the United States. In 1999, I created a computer-assisted peer mediation program for my second master's degree, and the internet was just starting to evolve, and I was looking at online delivery tools such as Shockwave and Flash and some very primitive voice over IP programs to conduct online simulations. And a lot of this was to create better interactions for my students in the classes. I was teaching courses at the time in computer applications in the behavioral sciences and managing race and ethnic conflicts. We had just started getting some distance learning technology tools, so we were trying to bring the simulations to students where they were at. Around 1999, I attended a Southern California Mediation Association conference in Malibu and saw a presentation by the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service. And they had a system called TAGS, which was the first introduction I had to a system that had separated chat rooms and confidential rooms online, and had some voice applications, and was able to process dispute resolution cases online. By 2000, the Internet project out of Carleton University in Canada starting having online negotiation simulations, and I had my students participate in some of those simulations. In 2001, my class started participating in activities by the Online Ombudsman Office at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. And what happened is the groups of my students were practicing mediation using email and some discussion board threads with students at different universities. In 2002, I added more lectures on online dispute resolution to my computer applications in the behavioral science course, and I proposed having a whole course in online dispute resolution. At the time, I was beta testing several different online dispute resolution applications. Some of those have evolved and still exist, and others have obsolete and disappeared. In 2004, I began teaching the course in online dispute resolution, and during my research, looking at the different service providers, I got a job offer and was hired by SquareTrade. And at that time, I also started presenting at some of the online dispute resolution conferences. Between 2004 and 2008, I mediated over 2,500 disputes through SquareTrade, and served as an evaluator for the International Competition for Online Dispute Resolution. I also have presented at the International Forums for Online Dispute Resolution in Egypt, Canada, and most recently in the Czech Republic. Since 2008, I have been using combinations of telephone, Skype, video conferencing equipment, and email to manage distant disputes online. I have done several distant parenting plans, individual education plans, and union grievance procedures. And that's how I'm currently using the online dispute resolution skills as a school psychologist and a special education teacher that travels from site to site in rural Alaska. Most frequently I'm using Skype, and then also we have a dedicated video teleconferencing system, and what I'm doing is more going through problem-solving processes with teams of specialists such as speech and language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and other people that support the learning plans of students with moderate to severe disabilities. I'm also currently the president of the Lower Yukon Education Association. Our school district is larger than some of the East Coast states. Therefore, we save time and money resolving our disputes online rather than flying on costly bush planes or risk crossing frozen tundra on the snowmobiles. Over the years, I've applied online dispute resolution to resolve disputes and work on problem-solving teams. I've experimented with ODR simulations for about 15 years, and it's actually a hobby to go through and test these different systems. My role with SquareTrade was mediating between 2004 and 2008, and then the fourth party, or the intelligent design within SquareTrade, and the people running dispute resolution at eBay, especially Cole and Rule, designed systems to automate the simpler cases where mediators were no longer as necessary. According to Cole and Rule, SquareTrade last year managed over 60 million cases through their automated system. Also, a lot of the online dispute resolution practitioners are farmed out overseas to a country like India, where the labor is less expensive, and we've seen this trend moving in all different customer service and customer relations fields for many large corporations. I've noticed a similar pattern where ODR companies start with human mediators, then they become automated with customer service and fourth-party applications, and move their customer service practitioners to lower-cost labor markets overseas. As an ODR practitioner, I picked the times when I wanted to mediate, how long I'll mediate, and searched for ways around impasse. I've seen that the simpler cases end up being, they go through the automated systems. The more complex cases are still dealt with by alternative dispute resolution practitioners, and we use the ODR systems as a tool. Some of the cases that I worked on at SquareTrade and I work on as a special ed professional takes a few minutes to resolve, where others drag on for months. The disputants in these cases place a high value on receiving quick and efficient resolutions. And I often work on the cases asynchronously in the middle of the night or at my convenience when I can think the most clearly. And I've picked the most appropriate technology that is available. In some cases, the simplest way to deal with a conflict is telephone or Skype. It can be email. It can be different discussion boards. And a lot of corporations and institutions have their own communication systems that they use that a practitioner can use to facilitate online dispute resolution. So you really have to design the systems to fit the technology that you have. So far, I've summarized my involvement in ODR and how I found employment as an ODR practitioner, which was through contacting the different ODR providers, beta testing the systems, and then seeing what opportunities were available. Later on, I just started designing my own systems to work with the institutional technology that I work for. There are many different articles describing the history of ODR, and there's a lot of different stories that are written about early cases involving conflicts that happened in the early history of the internet. Some of these articles go through phases. Some of them go through the different generations of technology that's out there, and I will provide some links at the end for you to go through these. Some of the important milestones in the history of ODR that Ketch and Wing bring up are parallel to the development of technology and interactions over the internet. Some of these include in 1990, university students began having access to the internet, and there were other different gophers and boards that such as ConflictNet and different tools where people had online arguments and online conflicts developed. In 1992, commercial activity on the internet began, and then towards the mid-90s we saw expanded technological growth and usage. This started with dial-up moving towards wired broadband towards wireless technology. Also, we saw desktops move to laptops, move to smartphones, and then tablets. Also, there was a great drop in the price of computing power, storage, and memory. In the late 1990s, some of the protocols developed and online payment systems developed through PayPal and directly paying merchants through credit cards. Then there was, in 2000, there is an expansion of the online processes involving e-commerce, games, gambling, education, online auctions, and social networking. With these developments in technologies have been a development of online technologies to resolve both online and offline disputes. This history is outlined in the Ketch and Wing article.
The concept of using electronic networks to resolve disputes has been around for decades. Telegram, telephone, and fax machine negotiations were the beginning of online dispute resolution. Many dispute resolution and law firms used various online forums to gather case development. In the early 1990s, new technologies such as email and the development of go for discussion groups about electronic dispute resolution processes began. I remember reading conversations about using electronic networks to resolve disputes on AOL and ComNet in 1993. In the mid-1990s, Internet developed and ODR was defined several stages. The first book on online dispute resolution was published by Ethan Katz and Janet Rifkin in 2001. The book described 3 stages in the ODR development. Tyler and Brethington in 2003 added a 4th stage, and Sanjay Hawata has actually redefined the stages and developed different pathways for the future. Also, Ethan Katz has written an article showing the future ODR may hold. The stages go from hobbyist to experimental to entrepreneurial to evolution, and then the future stages. And before 1995, ODR with on technology without much institutional affiliations. These were evident in ConflictNet and some other online sites that just use text only, and these were hobby experiments. The experimental phase was between 1995 and 1998, where there were very few documented cases of disputes actually being resolved online. Institutions provided funding for universities, nonprofit organizations ran some pilot programs, some tests. There was name disputes that were coming up, so ICANN, the Corporation for Assigned Names Numbers, set up online ombudsman, and they started resolving some cases there. The technology used during the experimental phase was, pseudo chat boxes, boards, some HTML, Perl, their database builds, and two-way interactive video conferencing. And the entrepreneurial phase occurred between 1998 and 2006. There was many for-profit organizations that launched private online sites, and a lot of these different corporations and organizations applied for patents to secure their right to the process. Some of these in Smart Settle, Cyber Settle, Squade, Medium Room, and several other processes that are outlined. Conley Taylor's 115 ODR sites and her unpublished articles ended up going up to about 165 and counting in 2006, and then she just stopped writing those. In the evolution stage between 2006 and 2012, there is ongoing growth with simpler interfaces, and they were integrated with face-to-face resolution processes. There's a lot of experimentation, more complex disputes. Simple cases became automated or outsourced to nations with a low compensation. These integrated ODR, automated customer relation systems, and some of these systems online, others went through telephone paths. There's also the development of customized systems for many different industries, such as insurance, online auctions, travel sites, Skype, eBay, Amazon, all started having their own systems, including different systems for the travel site, the insurance companies, the banking systems. So what we ended up seeing it going from separate ODR corporations that started as neutrals, those started to fall apart and dissolve, and then each online enterprise to building their own systems to resolve disputes. Where the future seems to lie is in more community-based systems that can handle more complex cases, systems that can handle more business to business or business to consumer complex cases, and some of them are including family disputes, like what we're seeing with the research and recent legislation in British Columbia, Canada, environmental disputes, organizational disputes. Also, more complex problem-solving processes are being integrated into the system. These include a lot of work by Daniel Rainey with the National Mediation Board, and some of the things being done by Madria.com, which is a new site that has just evolved, and their system's going through beta testing. There's also a lot of work going into online dispute resolution within the prevention sciences, and the discussion at international conferences are going through how do we resolve intractable conflicts and international conflicts using ODR systems.
I'll conclude this lecture with providing you some references for you to read more about the history of ODR.